Neil McCabe works for the Tennessee Star, and he's a journalist there. And I have to say, I'm having him on for a very specific story that he sent me. And then today, he added in, he said, Grace, we could also talk about the upcoming speech by Joe Biden. And I almost said, you know what, Neil? I think you've just ruined this. I don't think I'm going to have you on because I don't want to talk about Joe. No, I'm just kidding. I would love to talk about everything with Neil McCabe. He's the best in the business. Neil, thank you so much for joining the Grace Curley Show.
Hashtag buzzkill.
I mean, Neil, I'm not going to watch it live. Are you?
I'll probably listen to it, but the thing that I'm really curious about is it's like why does someone, watch the Indianapolis 500 for, 12 hours? I don't even know how long these races are. Like 12 hours you sit there because you just want to see one really great crash. And that's what I'm interested in. It's the second biggest mistake that Trump made during the campaign was in the first debate. He kept interrupting Biden instead of just letting him sort of drool and ramble on. And we saw, he sort of gave Biden that space in the second debate. And, it's like, and he said a lot of crazy things, convoluted things. We saw his performance at his press conference. And so I'm really curious to see how this will turn out because, frankly, he's not up to the job, and his minders are really keeping him on a tight leash, a much tighter leash than he keeps his own dogs, by the way.
Yes, and he's pulling their tails and everything, so I believe you with that, Neil McCabe. Let's talk a little bit about the future of the Republican Party. I know you have a pretty good pulse on this, and there seems to be this narrative that there's infighting between Republicans, but I think that most Republicans are actually on the same page. What do you think about that?
Right. I remember when John Lakian ran for governor and he lost the primary, and in his speech he said that he was hoping for party unity. And I remember thinking to myself, the guy got 20% of the vote. The party is united, John. It's united against you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, Liz Cheney represents, this faction of these 10 Republicans that in the House that voted to impeach Donald Trump. Well, there are 210 Republicans, so that's like 5%. So 95% of House Republicans voted not to impeach Trump. This is, the party is united. The problem is that Kevin McCarthy, as the leader of the House Republicans, had a chance when House conservatives basically forced a vote inside the conference to basically throw Cheney out of her job because of her impeachment and because of her constantly saying that Trump is a criminal. And McCarthy backed Cheney.
Yeah.
About 60 Republicans voted to oust her, but that was McCarthy's chance. And I've talked about this before with you, is this idea of the coward's choice. And McCarthy took the coward's choice and he backed Cheney. And now Cheney is a loose cannon, basically running to be the next speaker and doing whatever she wants. And McCarthy just has to watch it. And the Republicans just had a retreat in Orlando, and they did not invite Trump to come to the retreat. And it's absolutely stunning. It's absolutely stunning. And at the same time, 2.5 hours down the road in Palm Beach, Trump had a fundraiser for the House Conservative Fund. And that, of course, is the Political Action Committee tied to the House Freedom Caucus, which, of course, was founded by Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows.
And Neil, and people can check out your work at TennesseeStar.com, but you have an article out and it says Mark Meadows vows the House Freedom Caucus is choosing the next speaker. And I also saw a recent quote from Mark Meadows that he thinks there's a 50-50 chance that Donald Trump runs in 2024. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's kind of the play that everybody basically runs for president pretending they're not running for president. For some reason, it's a bad look to be running for president. And so you just have to everyone's just sort of saying, well, I had no choice. The people demanded it.
Right. They urged me to run. That's what Howie always says. I was urged.
Yeah, right. But the other thing is, if you announce you're a candidate, all of a sudden you become subject to all of these federal election commission and other campaign finance laws. And so the idea is you don't want to be a candidate until you absolutely have to be a candidate, especially if you're Donald Trump, because the FBI will just arrest you and raid your offices or whatever they do to Republicans. So I can see that. 50-50, I would put the odds a little different. I would say it is like 100% that he's running and 0% that he's not.
Really? That's interesting, Neil, because
right. There's no way.
I'm kind of almost venturing more to say that he's going to pass it on to someone else, but you could absolutely be right. Something else I do want to talk about is this idea that Donald Trump, like you said, the faction of the party that involves Liz Cheney and Kevin McCarthy, the weaker kind of, and I hate to say that about Kevin McCarthy because I do like him and I think he stood by Trump for a pretty long time, but there does seem to be this group that really jumped ship at the last moment. And I agree with you. I don't think that is where the party is going. And I also think that if Trump were to run again, his eyes are open. He does not need to back rhinos anymore. He does not need to, side with people who he doesn't think really have it. And I think that's kind of the beauty. And I just want to go back to this one moment where when Trump stopped being president a few months ago, Nikki Haley had a meeting with him. She requested a meeting with him at Mar-a-Lago, and he flat out denied it. And I thought, you mentioned the fact that in that first debate with Biden, he made a big mistake, and I thought so as well. But I also think a big mistake he made in his 4 years was giving these people a chance when really he needed a cabinet full of Corey Lewandowskis and real fighters and not Nikki Haley's or Mitt Romney's or Chris Christie's or Kevin McCarthy's or Liz Cheney's. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but I kind of think he learned his lesson the hard way.
Oh, absolutely. Now, Corey's a great guy, and Corey spoke truth to Trump. And, Memorial Day, almost a year ago, he went to the White House and he told Trump that the campaign was going all the wrong way. He said that Brad Parscale was screwing up by the numbers. He said that Jared Kushner was running basically a crummy campaign, and he told Trump that he needed to take hold of it. And it took it was like another few months before Trump made those changes because because everything with him is based on personal experiences. His upbringing and his life as a businessman gave him great ability to see and do things that a regular politician cannot. But because he grew up and did business in New York real estate, where everything was a handshake, and you could hate a guy tomorrow, but you could love him the next day. It's like these relationships. You could build a building with someone you hated because you both wanted to make money and you wanted to get something done. That doesn't happen in Washington. And that was his blind spot.
Yeah.
Because he thought he could win people over. He thought he could seduce Paul Ryan. He thought he could seduce Mitch McConnell. And Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan will hate him till the day they die. And it never occurred to him that they would just hate him and keep throwing sand in the gears, because that's just not how you work in business.
And probably worse was that he thought he could seduce reporters and the people in the media. Like, he would do these interviews with people who you knew were just going to do a complete hit job, and he just would keep going back to them because, like you said, he always thought, hey, listen, at the end of the day, we can let bygones be bygones and kind of move on. And other people do not operate that way, especially with him. He kind of had this Kavorka with people in the opposite of the Kramer way, where people hated him so much and they wouldn't care what he could do for them politically. They hated his guts. And that's what, really always took control of the situation. Neil, I have to ask you, I know it just happened, but I want to get your fresh take on it. Rudy Giuliani, there's reports that the DOJ has raided his Manhattan apartment. Do you think they're going to find anything on him, or is this completely just, political backstabbing?
Well, first of all, it's like I'd be interested to see what the predicate for this warrant was, and it's a classic phishing or operation where basically the FBI is going to seize a bunch of stuff that they have There's no legitimate interest. There'll be no prosecutions, but basically because they've seized it, and then we'll then see leaks in the New York Times, basically that the FBI is basically raiding the guy's business for his records, and then they will be given to his political opponents. From what I read in the New York Times, he's being investigated because of the Foreign Agency Registration Act, that he was lobbying for other countries without being registered. Between 1967 and 1988, there were 2 people charged under this law. One was dismissed, one was a plea bargain. Since 2018, there have been 8 people convicted. 5 of them were affiliated with Trump. Giuliani would be the 9th. And the guy who was running FARA up until about 3 months ago is a guy named Brandon Van Krack, who was chief counsel for the Mueller team. And as soon as he left the Mueller team, he went over to DOJ and was running the FARA desk. And he took the FARA desk and he spun it up to be a political operation to attack Republicans. And it's a sad thing. It's kind of third world, where you basically use the legal system against your political opponents. It's outrageous that you would go after a defense attorney. It's almost unheard of, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Yeah, no, exactly. And all I can think about when I hear this is Chuck Schumer saying they have 6 ways to Sunday to get back at you. And it's absolutely true. It's the deep state at work. Neil McCabe from the Tennessee Star, where can people follow you on Twitter if they want to read all your fabulous work? They could check us out, obviously, at the Tennessee Star, but you can find me on Twitter at Neil W. McCabe 2, Neil, which is the Catholic spelling, Grace, Neil W. McCabe 2 on Twitter. Thank you so much, Neil. We'll have you on again soon. Neil McCabe is awesome, and he always keeps me up to date on all of the breaking news. It's true what they say at Perfect Smiles. Change your smile, change your life. I saw the change with Howie and with the mailroom manager. They both have such beautiful teeth. You can't go out to dinner with them without someone saying, wow, you have a great smile. And I know how they got it. Dr. Bruce Houghton, they talk about him all the time. And many people walk around every day and they don't feel confident about their smile. They try to kind of smile with their mouth closed, or they cover up their mouth when they talk. And that's not a fun way to live. And if you're driving around and you hear this and this makes you think, oh, I do that, this is your sign. You should really go to perfectsmiles.com. Check out their testimonial videos. You know, incredible transformations. You can see them for yourself. Howie's videos on there. Dr. Houghton really is an artist. He's also very, very kind. And he's just, sometimes with dentists and stuff, you can get nervous when you get there. He's got a very calming presence. Parking is free and the staff is warm and welcoming. If you've been wanting to upgrade your look for years, contact them today and look at their video testimonials. Go to perfectsmiles.com. That's perfectsmiles.com. Don't wait any longer. Change your smile, change your life. That's perfectsmiles.com. We'll be back on the other side. We'll take a couple of your calls before producers' picks. Don't go anywhere. It's the Grace Curley Show.
You're listening to the Grace Curley Show.